We welcome you to downtown Oklahoma City and Thunder playoff postgame. Game 2 of the Western Conference Finals between Minnesota and OKC is in the books with the final score 118-103. The series now 2-0 in favor of Oklahoma City as we welcome you back inside of Paycom Center, the site for tonight's Game 2 matchup between the Thunder and the Timberwolves. Now, in Game 1, the Thunder needed that first half to kind of calibrate to that new opponent in the Minnesota Timberwolves. Well, tonight, no calibration needed. The Thunder came out really strong in terms of their rhythm offensively. Now, the threes weren't necessarily falling for Oklahoma City, but this group, they shot 50% or better for the majority of this game.
They had to weather a little bit of hot shooting from the Timberwolves early in this one as well, but you're right, Paris. Early in this game, the Thunder looked a whole lot more like the Thunder in this one. You could definitely see a little bit more comfort with the new opponent and just how that they were going to manage some of the attacks throughout this game. Of course, as the Thunder often do to teams, it was another avalanche in that third quarter, outscoring the Wolves by 14. It was huge to build a lead going into halftime. The Thunder were up 58-50, but then the intensity and the pressure that they put on the Wolves throughout that third quarter, then building the lead. And look, Minnesota did everything they could try to do. And in some ways, I'm sure some Thunder fans were thinking the exact same thing, going back to that game where OKC led by 16, and the Wolves cranked up their pressure, started trapping the ball everywhere, and were able to come back and force overtime. But you can really see the growth of this team. The Thunder managed the game beautifully in those final 5 minutes, attacking well, getting stops. J-Dub's three on the wing was a huge one. And also, I'll say this, the Thunder did a great job against any kind of zone look that the Wolves threw out today. I thought Cason Wallace hit a three that just kind of felt meaningless or not that important in the third quarter, but it was a sharp attack against the zone, and immediately Minnesota got out of it.
Yeah, excellent execution, particularly in the fourth quarter of this game, because, Royce, we have to remember, we have a very fresh example of a team coming back, overcoming a double-digit deficit just yesterday, last night, the Eastern Conference Finals between the Pacers and the Knicks. We have seen teams overcome these sort of large deficits, and the Timberwolves, to their credit, they did not want to let this game get away. They were scrapping, they were clawing, they were fighting down the stretch just to keep this game within arm's distance. But Oklahoma City had already built up enough of a margin in this game that they had to fall back on. They were under control, they were under pressure, but they were poised as always.
You know, in a lot of ways, Paris, that's a great call about last night's game, because even in the NBA with the power of the three-point shot, the games can turn very quickly. And what you think is a 13-point lead in 3 possessions can get snapped in half real fast. And then when a game gets to 2 possessions, even if there's a minute and a half left, it changes the entire complexion of it. But again, Oklahoma City did so many things right, even though they had to battle through things like the Wolves being in the bonus, getting to the free throw line late, because Minnesota did a lot of things right themselves to try to engineer a comeback. But again, the Thunder did a great job of just sharply attacking and also managing the clock really well. It was kind of like a football team, running it on first and second down, and then converting a third down with a short pass with a really well executed play. And that's what Oklahoma City did there. They picked their spots to attack early in the clock when they had great opportunities, but they also managed the clock and drained down the shot clock a lot of those final 4 minutes.
Can we take some time to talk about the freshly minted MVP of this league? If you'll indulge me, the man had 38 points. I had to reference it just to make sure I got it correct. 38 points. But Royce, it was his MVP level efficiency, particularly in the mid-range, that really stood out.
And just the composure that SGA, I mean, again, we're talking about the way the Thunder closed this game. So much of it is with SGA engineering and orchestrating all of that, Paris. And again, the Wolves are doing everything they can do to try to get the ball out of his hands. The way that zone really started kind of edging its way up the court. It was almost at half court at a certain point, but SGA, again, making smart decisions. I thought a really low-key shot that was really important in this one. 7:30 left in the fourth quarter. SGA, the Wolves are pushing just a little bit. Smooth, confident mid-range jumper. Just never rattled. It's exactly what you expect to see from a guy that's the most valuable player of the league, but he was efficient, he was dynamic, and his floor game tonight, Paris, was on display throughout.
I mean, he also had 8 assists in this game. The way he was able to facilitate, he's so good at this, using his gravity to find open looks for his teammates. I remember several of these great simple passes. These weren't like home run cross-court passes. They're just making the next play, the easy play, the simple play, and those guys stepping into those shots with confidence. Let's talk about another guy stepping into shots with confidence. How about Jalen Williams with a double-double in this one today?
J-Dub was fantastic and had his foot on the gas early in this one, getting to his spots. I love when Dub looks like himself, and he's playing with that kind of force. Only got one free throw in this game, but, man, he was downhill. He was at the basket, getting to his mid-range spots, looked smooth and confident in that. And, of course, that often just builds throughout the game. And it ends up in big moments like that three-pointer that Dub hit, which was kind of the de facto dagger. But Dub was awesome on the defensive end, as we can always expect from him. He was, and like you mentioned, Paris, don't overlook how big he was on the glass, because the Thunder, they didn't necessarily downsize a ton to small ball in this game, but they went with Chet Holmgren a lot more at the traditional center spot, which kind of upsized Dub into that 4 spot, and Dub was huge battling on the glass.
Yeah, big moments for J-Dub in this game. Another guy who had a couple of big key moments in this one off the bench, Cason Wallace, and after the game, our very own Nick Gallo caught up with him after the game.
All right. Cason, that third quarter, once again, a defining quarter for you all. What did you feel coming out of the locker room?
A lot of energy. You know, we want to win these third quarters, and we know what that takes, so we just came out and executed.
Down the stretch, they put a run on you guys. What did it take in that fourth quarter to just keep them at bay and make sure that this game was yours?
Just stick to who we are. You know, we have an identity, and when we play to that, we're a tough team to beat. And, you know, like you said, they made a run, but, you know, we just stuck through it.
How is it that you always find yourself in the middle of that defense to offense flow that you guys got going? Because in transition, you just continue to make plays for this team.
Just trying to be an open man. You know, whenever you find gaps in the zone or you go in the paint to make plays, somebody's going to be open.
You got to celebrate the MVP last night. You got to play alongside him tonight. What was this like? What did you see from him in this performance?
He had another MVP-type game. You know, he came out and show who he is.
All right, Cason, congratulations on the win. Appreciate you.
Appreciate it.
All smiles from the Thunder and, of course, Cason Wallace. Great stuff there from the guy off the bench, stepping into some big minutes in this game here tonight. All right, let's send you back over to the press room now so we can hear from Thunder head coach Mark Daigneault.
To have 58 points and to kind of pace offensively the way we did it, I think it speaks to the blend we were able to find. It felt like we were very confident and, you know, getting to good spots on the floor, understanding, you know, a continued understanding of how to attack this team. And then we did it again in the fourth. You know, they threw different stuff at us. They were pretty aggressive on the ball. I thought our spacing and attacks were very good. We shot the right shots, made the right passes. So we can learn from it. It's a different look, again, that we can improve from. But I thought, by and large, offensively, we did a good job tonight.
Valencia King, Real Talk Sports. Mark, I know the last 24 hours headlining story with Shea being the MVP, but when you see him out there before the game hoisting up that trophy, what does that mean for you?
Special moment, you know, to share with the fans. I mean, the fans that are here tonight, those are like iconic pictures in history of the league, and the fans get to enjoy that and acknowledge him. And it's an appropriate time to say that in these two games, as well as the rest of the games, but our fans were outstanding, put the wind at our back in these games, and we're going to continue to need them.
Coach, Shea was good as always, but it sure seemed like Dub had an especially good game. How'd you look at him?
Yeah, I mean, he was really aggressive. He was efficient. I thought he chose the right spots to get to his spots and pull up, and chose the right spots to attack the basket, found good passes. I thought his floor game was very good, and he was very good again defensively. So a great night out of him, obviously.
Mark, with all that's swirled around Shea, for him to come out tonight and have the kind of just, I mean, not harried performance, it was just him. What does that say about just where he is at this point? And what do you like most about what he brought tonight?
Yeah, I mean, he came ready to play, and, you know, we knew Minnesota off of game one would come out and play the way they did. You know, they were, you know, putting us in closeouts. They were passing the ball. And they were sharp, you know, early in the game. And, you know, it's a pretty predictable thing, but it's not until you get out in the game that you're navigating it. And that's where you need guys to lead. And I thought he led tonight just with his approach and his force and his blend. You know, he threw great passes down the stretch. You know, the attacks Nick was talking about. You know, I thought he had a good blend of attacks and early passes, and he kept the scoreboard moving for us down the stretch.
Coach, can you talk about the relationship between Shea and Chris Paul? what Chris meant to him, and what does it mean for somebody like that to show up and support tonight.
Chris was here? Oh, I didn't know. Well, I'm not like watching on TV like you guys are, so I didn't see him. Yeah, I mean, I'll let Shea speak to it because he's got a better pulse on that. Obviously, he's lived it. But all I know is Chris Paul was here for a year and couldn't have been more impressive in terms of his day-to-day readiness, his professionalism. And, you know, Shea was young, Lou was young. We had other young guys on that team, and he just walked the walk. And, you know, there's a reason he's played as long as he has. There's a reason he's played at the impact that he has. For so many years, you know, when you get to see him day to day and how serious he is about his craft, it all makes a lot more sense. So I have the ultimate respect for Chris.
Mark, when both Cason and Lou are out there together and Edwards is on the floor, you've kind of switched up which one of those guys has that primary assignment. How do you decide, you know, when to put Cason on him, when to put Lou on him, and just how valuable is it to have two options like that?
Yeah, I don't do the matchups, so the assistants are handling the possession-to-possession matchups, and I don't know what the hell they're doing and why. But those guys, it's great to have two of them out there. And with this particular team, with Randall and Reed, McDaniels, there's a lot of like wing size on the team that you have to account for, and Lou does well on those guys, because he can play underneath them a little bit. So we're able to deploy him in different ways, and you can't like ignore Edwards in doing so, obviously. So having guys like Cason and Caruso that can handle that, even Dub, is a huge luxury. It lets us, keep fresh legs on the best players, and keeps us, a moving target in terms of matchups.
What do you think this team specifically learned from the Denver series? And is there anything you've seen over the last 4 days that is being applied from that?
Well, I think, offensively, that series really forced us to pivot very quickly. I mean, they threw a ton of schemes at us and changed them very quickly. And I think Minnesota's done that a little bit these first two games, and our quickness in like pivoting to the next attack and recognizing what they're doing, I think, is better than it was at the beginning of Denver. And then I thought our resolve in that series, it was really what got sharpened. I mean, we had our backs against the wall, and had to respond multiple times, in that series. And now we have a different challenge. We're up 2-0, going into their place. We know they're going to play very aggressively, hard, comfortably, at home. And now we've got to have the mental toughness to go and rise to that challenge as we head to Minnesota.
Mark, we've been talking about these sort of signature killer runs, maybe more specifically in the third and fourth quarters all year. It feels like Minnesota is maybe especially susceptible to those. If you even agree with that, like, why do you think that is? And sort of, can you recognize at a point in the game when a team is loosening its grip, per se?
2 games is a really small sample, so I wouldn't read too much into 2 games, but we just try to stack possessions. I mean, it sounds, I know I pound that away every time you guys ask about stuff, but the runs are a byproduct of that, and I thought tonight we got good threes in the first half. For the most part, we didn't shoot it great, and we completed some of those possessions, and so, we got some stops. We were able to get out and run in transition, and then even on some of the loose plays in like the early offense, we were able to get really, really quality threes. The guys stepped in, shot the ball really well, or much better in the second half. And, when the shots are going in like that, that obviously contributes to it as well.
Shea had a rough shooting half. The first half of game one has really been cooking since then. What stands out to you about the groove that he's been in over the last 6 quarters?
Yeah, he's just got an unbelievable ability to not be in a groove and get himself there almost instantaneously. You never feel like the next play is going to be a continuation of, a lack of rhythm or a couple misses. You always feel like he's always, getting himself going for the next possession. So just great mental toughness, great consistency. He's really learned the length of the game, and he's just never out of it, and so he had another really like solid night. But I thought his force and his mentality early in the game, when we know we're up 1-0 and the team is going to play better, I thought that was, he really stabilized the game for us early tonight, I thought.
Looked like your small ball kind of picked the pace up in the second and third quarters for you, kind of get the pace going for you, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's been good so far in this series. We've mixed it in. with Gobert on the court. We've mixed it in with, Reed and Randall on the court. They've downsized a couple times now, especially in the fourth quarters of these games. And so we've just kind of leaned into that, but we're going to need everybody to be ready to go. The series always evolves in unpredictable ways. And so we've got to keep all of our tools sharp, and we got to be able to put, different lineups on the floor and have the guys deliver. But they've done a great job through 2 games.
Coach, you had Lou Dort and both J-Dub make the all-defensive teams. That was announced today. But will you talk about the luxury of whenever those guys go out, having guys like Cason and Alex Caruso, also guys, one that has probably the potential to be on one, and one who's been on all-defensive, just kind of putting those guys in whenever you take those other guys out?
Yeah, we got great depth and versatility on our team, and on top of that, a bunch of guys that are willing to play for the team and do whatever is necessary. And I thought the guys did a great job tonight. Edwards was, much more, he was loosened up tonight. I thought a lot of that was the way they were playing, and they really took on the challenge with him. And he really had to earn, he had to earn everything he got for the most part. Nothing came easy for him. He played really well, but having guys that are willing to make somebody like that work for their points and work for their production, that's huge. And I thought they did a good job of that tonight, despite Edwards' night.
Mark, I think most people would associate distractions with negative things, but you've had this last week with Shea getting the MVP. There's been some other things out there. What does it say about him and his sort of just mental toughness and ability to focus to have a performance like this when the stakes are this big?
We take great pride in having an environment that's consistent day to day, and it's been the same environment from when we were winning 20 games as it is now. That's, I think, what we lean on in the ups and downs of the season and different events that happen. But with that said, part of what makes him special is the imprint that he's had on that environment and how much he's contributed to that environment and been a part of building that environment that we're now all benefiting from as a team.
Andrew Schlecht with The Athletic. You guys were able to limit Julius Randle tonight. What'd you like about the way you defended him?
I thought, like I said, Minnesota came out and they were sharp and they were attacking and they were, playing with a high level of pace and urgency and really tested us. And I thought, they got the best of us on some possessions, but for the most part, we were able to kind of maintain our game plan, with the main guys and also with the rest of their guys that are all very effective two-end players. So we did a good job, getting a counterpunch from them and being able to kind of take some counterpunches tonight. That was not an easy game, and they played pretty well in a lot of the stretches. And so we have to be ready for them to go to another level, like I said, as they go back home.
Yeah, Mark, I think through 2.5 quarters, I think Minnesota had only 6 turnovers. Did you like your defense up to that point? And at that point, all of a sudden, you had 5 the rest of the quarter and broke the game. But were you playing the kind of defense you wanted to before that spigot got turned on?
I thought Minnesota played really well, in their attacks early in the game and had us behind a lot of plays. I credit them. They made good adjustments in between the games, and they were much sharper. And we had to kind of catch up to that fastball, and I thought we were able to do that. But, the turnovers are never like the outcome. If we're low turnover, it's really about, what level of discomfort we're able to put on the opponent. And if that's inefficient shots or long possessions or making them work for everything or a turnover, we don't really worry about what the outcome of those possessions are. We're just trying to make sure we're taking care of what we can control.
You guys had, I think, 14 non-paint twos in the first half. Are you going into half, happy with, how the offense is played?
I was aware of that, and I just thought, there was a level of, assertive, I didn't think we were, settling, and I didn't think we were, stuck on those shots, meaning, we have a bad possession and we have to bomb one of those up. I thought we had really good shooters, kind of playing with some force and some aggressiveness. Obviously, we want to have a blend. We want to get, to the rim. We want to get open threes. We have great mid-range shooters. Some of that was Caruso had a couple floaters against the zone. Hartenstein trailed in a couple, so those add up. But I thought generally the way we were attacking showed an improved understanding of the opponent, which is really what we were after tonight, and we just have to continue to do that as we navigate the series. Yep, thanks.
There's a consistent theme with this team, if you've paid attention over the course of the last series against the Denver Nuggets and this series now against the Minnesota Timberwolves. And it's the fact that the Thunder learns through every single game, and they're kind of like a computer, just gaining more and more information and using it in real time. And you heard Coach Daigneault, the Thunder's just gaining more and more understanding of how to attack Minnesota offensively.
Yeah, again, that's what, you know, a lot of people did expect a zone defense, especially with how effective Denver's was at times, and then also just Minnesota. Even though they didn't play much zone as a whole throughout the regular season, they played it specifically against the Thunder in their matchup. So a lot of people kind of had this expectation that the Thunder would see a lot. I think we saw one, maybe two possessions of it in game one, but Minnesota broke it out early in this one. But the Thunder, again, their attacks were sharp. I think that I go back to that three-pointer that Cason Wallace hit early in the third quarter. It felt so important to me because the Wolves really tried to amplify their zone pressure, pushing their guards higher up the floor to take the ball out of Shea's hands. And it was two passes and a wide open rhythm three for Cason Wallace that he cashed in right away. Those types of things are just backbreakers for a team when they're waiting to try to throw that curveball at you and you just smack it out of the park.
Well, and that was part of a larger run for Oklahoma City with that entire third quarter. And it wasn't one big run. I would categorize it more as like a series of small 5-0 bursts for the Thunder that just sent this crowd going absolutely crazy and really deflated the Minnesota Timberwolves. And that Cason Wallace three, well, it was followed up by a steal from Alex Caruso and a dunk from Chet Holmgren, an immediate timeout from Minnesota. And so those sort of plays, when you stack those sort of plays on top of each other, you get a nice separation. The Thunder was able to go into fourth quarter up 22 points.
Yeah, you know, again, we've seen this from this Thunder team so often this season, all season long, which, you know, these games can kind of be back and forth, and you're going, you know, you're trading punches with your opponent throughout a lot of it. Coach Mark talked about it, that Minnesota was very impressive early in this game. They came out and they threw a pretty good punch at the Thunder. They were forceful with their attacks. Anthony Edwards clearly tried to have his foot on the gas in this one. But the Thunder, what they can do is just they can hit those body blows against you, and then they can finally kind of knock you down on the mat because they can hit you with 8 or 10 straight points. And all of a sudden you look up at the scoreboard, and before you know it, it's 72-61, and you just don't even really know how it got there. And now you feel like you're playing uphill against them, and it puts just more pressure on you as the game wears on.
Yeah, just the compounding effects of that defense married with knocking down some really quality threes. The Thunder did just that in this game to walk away with their Game 2 victory over the Minnesota Timberwolves. Stick with us here on Thunder Playoff Postgame. When we come back, we'll continue breaking down this awesome Game 2 action we saw here inside of Paycom Center.
Big car payments? That's no fun. Even if you love your car or truck, the wrong vehicle loan can leave you wondering where your money goes and if your payment could have been lower. So if you're paying more than you should on your car loan every month, give a little love to your budget and contact Communication Federal Credit Union. There's no cost to find out if we can help. Plus, all new vehicle loans and refinances get the first 90 days with no payment. Love your car and your loan payment with Communication Federal.
Let Loves be your partner on your summer RV trip. Fuel up, grab a bite to eat, and stay the night at one of our 90 RV stops. Reserve an RV spot overnight and turn on amenities from your phone. With over 420 dog parks, we've even got your furry family members covered. We're the perfect pit stop for your next road trip. Loves, the heart of the highway.
With OG&E Smart Hours, you control your energy and your savings. If you're a busy bee, go with Smart Hours Daily, where daily price alerts let you maximize savings. Or how about Smart Hours Fixed? Just set it and forget it. Night owl? Choose Smart Hours overnight. No matter which you choose, with Smart Hours, you control your energy and your savings. When you reduce your energy use between 2 and 7 p.m. this summer, you help the grid, the environment, and your wallet. But you have to sign up to save. So sign up now at oge.com/smarthours.
Welcome back inside of Paycom Center and into Thunder Playoff Postgame. The Thunder now lead this series 2-0 over the Minnesota Timberwolves in the Western Conference Finals, defeating them here tonight 118-103. And we'll break down more of this game, but we have to talk about the news that came out earlier today. How about Lou Dort and Jalen Williams, both named to the 2025 All-NBA defensive teams? Lou Dort earning that first team honor and Jalen Williams in that second team, and very well deserved for these two players who are part of the #1 defense in the NBA all season long, and a defense that allowed just 12 times this season a 30-point performance by an opposing player. That leads the NBA. And for context, the Toronto Raptors were second in this category, and they allowed 21. So that just goes to show stifling defense, and of course headlined by a guy like Lou Dort and Jalen Williams.
And I think there was almost like a 3-month span, Paris, from like mid-December all the way deep into the February, where the Thunder didn't allow a single 30-point
Not a single
score.
one.
And so, again, specifically for Lou Dort, I mean, it is long overdue that Lou Dort gets this recognition, but well-earned that he did. And specifically tonight, man, Lou was awesome on Anthony Edwards. The battle between those two, I mean, Anthony Edwards is a high-level offensive player, plays with so much force and downhill attacks. And Lou at the point of attack, Anthony Edwards talked about it after game one. He wanted to play really aggressive. He got up, I think, 18 shots in the first half.
Yep.
But he finished with 26 for the game. I think Anthony Edwards would have shot it 40 times, but Lou Dort wasn't going to let him do it. And so, I mean, Lou did an incredible job, low efficiency for Anthony Edwards. Then, of course, J-Dub, who's one of the most versatile wings in the entire NBA, so disruptive and so integral to what the Thunder want to do defensively with his switchability and his intangibles all over the defensive side of the ball.
Let's talk a little bit more about Lou Dort, and we'll get to J-Dub more here in a second. But with Lou specifically, as you mentioned, long overdue. This is the reason he made it into the starting lineup as a rookie for the Thunder 6 seasons ago. It was because of his defensive tenacity. He's always had that. But the thing about Lou is he takes a lot of punches every single night, because when you're guarding the best players in the NBA, guess what? They're going to make shots, even when you roll out your best defensive effort. But the thing about Lou, he always stands back up, and he's going to make it as difficult as possible every single time.
I would love to like strap a GoPro to Lou and just like watch him. I don't know how many screens he has to navigate in any given game. Somebody should just have a counter and do it, because I bet it's like 150.
His shoulders
screens.
have seen some things.
I mean, he gets screened 7 or 8 times a possession, and Lou Dort is one of the most unscreenable players in the NBA with how he navigates those. And again, a lot of traditional defensive stats just never tell the true story about Lou Dort. One of the best stats all season long has been about opposing leading scorers scoring well under their average and also well under their efficiency when Lou Dort, who almost always takes the primary defensive assignment, and it just has so much to do with Lou Dort just disrupting game plans, taking away shots, making possessions reset, great closeouts. I love that Thunder fans recognize it too. There was multiple moments tonight where Lou Dort nailed a closeout in the corner, and the fans gave him an ovation for that. Just the little stuff like that. It's great to notice those sorts of things.
Yeah, Lou is just such a visceral competitor. That's how Coach Daigneault puts it when he's out there on the court. And well overdue, but well deserved for Lou Dort. First team all defensive teams. Now, with Jalen Williams, we talked about it with him. His versatility is what stands out. He's a man who can literally guard 1 through 5. And when you look around the league and you start to try to count players who can do what he does defensively, the list is very short.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, we saw it tonight. Again, we talked about the Thunder and the way that they made some adjustments in some of their lineup choices, going with Chet as the traditional 5. And again, that upsizes Dub into that 4 position. But he's out there guarding Julius Randle. Then he switches over and he's guarding Anthony Edwards. We saw him last postseason on Kyrie Irving for the most of it. He can guard anybody with anybody. His wingspan is so disruptive. He looks like the kind of guy that it is just miserable to dribble against him.
A 7'2" wingspan.
I mean, he just takes it from people, but he's also so often in the right spot. We saw it game 1, 5 steals. But Dub his versatility is really kind of one of the true key elements of what makes this defense so great. And again, this entire Thunder defense, there's so many great defenders. If some of these guys would have met the game requirement, Paris, I think the Thunder might have had 4 or 5 guys on the team. Chet Holmgren would have been on it.
Alex Caruso,
who is a 2-time all-defensive selection. He probably would have made it. SGA was in the conversation.
Was top 5 in steals this season.
He got a lot of votes himself this year. Cason Wallace is one of the best defensive guards. I mean, so there's a lot of candidates to be on this team.
Yeah, you can't have the #1 defense in the NBA without a litany of elite defenders, and the Thunder had that, and 2 of those guys represented in the all-NBA defensive teams. All right, stick with us here on Thunder Playoff Postgame. When we come back, we'll hear from a Thunder player joining us here on the Postgame Show. We'll be right back.
Air Comfort Solutions has always stood for cooling, heating, plumbing, and electrical services you can count on. Assuring comfort since 2004, our Oklahoma Strong team stands for accuracy, confidence, and support where and when homes need us most. Today, with our refreshed look and our expanded services, ACS stands for achieving 100% customer satisfaction as we stand tall and do it all for OKC Homes. like a $69 AC tune-up to keep your home comfortable year-round. For whatever your home needs, don't stress. Call ACS.
Experience the sweet, vibrant flavors of Mexico in every spoonful of Brahms' new fancy sundaes. Enjoy a cascade of fresh fruits on Brahms' Tarta de Fresa Crema Sundae. Indulge in creamy cinnamon-kissed ice cream with silky caramel on the Chongo Zamorano Sundae. Dive into strawberry paradise with Brahms' Fresas con Crema Sundae and savor each caramel-filled bite of Brahms' Sopapilla Cheesecake Sundae. Authentic flavors, bold traditions, and irresistible sweetness in every scoop only at Brahms.
Big wins are blooming across Riverwind Casino, and the jackpots have never been sweeter.
Go all in on your favorite table games.
Hedge your bets on the biggest wins and unbeatable entertainment. Use your wild card for the best perks and the top rewards.
And play for your share of the $100,000 Lucky May Days giveaway.
Win with the best.
And we'll see you at Riverwind.
Welcome back to Thunder Playoff Postgame. Joining us now, as you can see, is Cason Wallace, who has been massive for the Thunder off the bench throughout this entire postgame run. And Cason, we just talked about it. You guys got out to a pretty strong start in this one after needing about a half to calibrate in game one. What allowed you guys to get off to such a strong start in this game today?
We knew that they were going to come out and, throw some pretty heavy punches. We just wanted to withstand those runs and, go on some of our own.
Okay, so, a lot of talk was about Minnesota's zone. They didn't play it a ton against other teams in the regular season, but they played it a lot against you guys, and there was a lot of expectation we would see it. I thought a big shot that was kind of underrated in this was early in that third quarter, they're in their zone, they're pushing up high, and you get found on the wing and you just step confidently into a three. How important is it to kind of knock down those shots when you get those opportunities against the zone?
It's big. You just got to take them. We're NBA players. We make shots. Passing up an open shot is bad for the team. So you got to shoot every shot with confidence, and especially when you're open.
Cason, I want to zoom out for a second because these last 48 hours have been so special for your team. Between Shea being named MVP yesterday, Lou Dort, first team all-defense, J-Dub, second team all-defense. Just what has this been like seeing your teammates get these sort of accolades here?
It's a lot of fun. Just celebrating those moments with them. Those are big accomplishments. Those are awards that not everybody get to have, and to be on the team with them and be able to see that firsthand is big time.
Okay, so as you guys kind of now turn the page to go on the road to Minnesota, you're going to get an amazing punch from them. They're going to really try to get themselves back in the series. You guys have been in this situation a couple times, the first round series against Memphis. What are your kind of expectations for going on the road in that game 3?
Like we did tonight. Just withstanding their runs. They're going to go on a run. It's going to get loud. They're going to be a little more comfortable there at home. But, we got to go on the road and, stay tight, stay to who we are, and, just play hard.
Well, Cason, you guys certainly played hard here tonight. Congratulations on the win. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, let's get you over to the press room now so we can hear from Shai Gilgeous-Alexander addressing the media.
Shai, you obviously had that wonderful moment last night with your teammates. What did it feel like for you to be out there at midcourt and receiving that award, and then to go out and play the way you did?
Yeah, it felt really good. I feel like my emotions were so high that I was a little bit tired out there, especially to start. I was a little too juiced up, but yeah, special moment. I'm happy we won, so I can really enjoy the last couple of days and soak it all up. That really helps. But yeah, shout out to the team. Played well again tonight, and heading to Minnesota up 2-0.
Shai over here in the corner, Malika Andrews, ESPN. It seems like all season long, this team's spirit, no matter the run, never breaks. And yet, 3 minutes before the game, you're celebrating, and then 3 minutes later, you're completely locked into this opponent. Starting with you, how do you balance that fun with keeping this serious goal in mind?
Yeah, we just prioritize what matters. And we've come to realize that you win games and all that other stuff comes after. And it's, you guys saw it last night with myself and Lou and Dub today getting recognition. When you win games and you do it together and you have fun out there, everything else, all the individual stuff you want, it comes with it. But it starts with taking care of business on a basketball court, and we know that.
Shea, congratulations. I remember in the bubble, just you and Chris Paul being joined at the hip. You kind of like taking everything as a sponge. From your arrival here and joining forces with him in the bubble to now, how would you describe your relationship? What has he meant to you? It's kind of like a big boy, big brother, mentor, all and above. It was just, and in addition, what did it mean for you that he arrived tonight?
Yeah, he has been great. Like you said, not only like a big brother, mentor, but just like a friend. He's always there to lean on. He was the first guy in my life that I was like close with that like achieved the things that I wanted to achieve. And I really leaned on him for like advice and not only basketball advice, like business advice, taking care of your body advice, like handling a family when they don't live with you. Like there's so many things that you deal with as an NBA player, especially of his caliber, that go under the radar. And his guidance with that has been great. And like I said, not only as all the mentorship and stuff, but just being there as a friend, he's been special.
And his attendance tonight.
Oh yeah, that was amazing. Caught me off guard. I had to like double take. I was like, who's that sitting with my wife? I got a little tight, but then I seen it was Chris. I was like, all right, cool.
Shea, you talked about those emotions early, just sort of almost wearing you down before the game even starts. Did you focus on anything particular to try to kind of get through that initial stretch of time? And then just overall with what you did individually tonight, what were you most pleased with?
Yeah, early I just wanted to lean on my teammates. Like, I thought about like coming out and like forcing the first couple shots, but I was like, nah, it's probably not the way to go. I wanted to just let the game come to me. Like I said, lean on my teammates, play through them, play off of them. I think my first basket was like a back cut from Hart. So like I just didn't want to force the issue, let the game come to me. And then, I'm pleased with the way we guarded tonight. We held them to 100 points, I think, and obviously they're a really good offense. So, yeah, we did the job defensively.
Andrew Schleck with The Athletic. J-Dub had 11 in the fourth quarter. You know, what did you see from him offensively and defensively tonight?
Yeah, stepping into his own, being confident, making big-time plays. I think we had they were cutting back into the lead, and they had like a fast break. He got a steal and then an and one. That was like a huge play for the last couple of minutes. He's just coming into his own. And I knew this would happen. He's a great player, works hard, does the right things, and when you do that, good things happen for you.
It was about 4.5 minutes to go in the first half. You had 8 points, and then you went on like a little bit of a run at the end. You had like an assist, a fadeaway over even Shinzo, a three, a couple free throws. You had like 11 points in like the last 4.5 minutes. Was that conscious where you saw something or you felt like you want to be more assertive or whatever? Help you guys get an 8-point lead.
Yeah, not at all. I honestly just was out there playing basketball. Try to be aggressive, take my spots, try to make the right play. That's all that was. It wasn't intentional at all. Just try to close the half the right way. Closing quarters is so important, especially in close games, and the later in the season, the closer the game. So just want to take advantage of those moments.
Yeah, Shea, you've seen Lou put in the work year after year after year. He's been underappreciated year after year after year. What does it mean to you to see him finally get all defense first team?
Yeah, so happy for him. Nothing's made me happier this year in terms of our team. Like, Lou's been what he's been this year, his whole career, and for him to like finally get the recognition that he deserves is very special. And it's more impressive that like he just stuck with it throughout not getting it and just doing what's better for the team. He like diminished his role a couple years ago to do what's better for the team. Like he's just such a team first guy and puts that above all. To see him finally get some individual recognition for his hard work is very special.
Shea, how hard is it? I know you take one game at a time, but these games are coming fast and furious right now. How hard is it to not look at it and go, we're 6 wins from an NBA title?
Yeah, it's pretty easy. Like all season long, we've like got into a habit and built like the muscle of just like focusing on the next game and worrying about what's in front of us. And it's no different in this situation. We're aware of where we are in the season, but we'd be doing ourselves a disservice if we kind of veer from what got us here, and that's what we prioritize.
Shay, you once mentioned my whole life is consistent. When you think about the younger teenage Shay, how proud of you are of that younger Shay that got you to that point of hoisting up the trophy tonight?
Yeah, I'm very proud. I'm glad he never gave up. I'm glad he listened to the right people, and I'm glad for those people giving me that advice that they did throughout the years. They know who they are, and I'm very appreciative.
Shay, you guys have really seized command of both of these games in the third quarter. What are you seeing come out of halftime that's put you guys in position to really overwhelm them in those quarters?
Yeah, we haven't been great. We were terrible coming out of half in the last series, and that's just been an emphasis of ours. Like, we have to, no matter what's going on in the first half, we have to start this half the right way. And we've done a pretty good job of it the last two games. It's going to be very important on the road in their environment, in their comfort zone. We got to push it forward.
Yeah, Shay, when you think about people asking you about Chris and 2020, the bubble year and all that, does that seem like forever ago and all that you and this team's been through? How do you sort of, from a perspective, rationalize all those things?
Yeah, a little bit of both. It feels like it was a long time ago, but it also doesn't feel like it was 5-6 years ago. It's kind of in between. But yeah, it's the journey. It's been fun. It went by faster than I thought, but also it's like 5-6 years ago. Wow. So yeah, I don't know. It's a whirlwind. When I'm done my career, I'll look back and reminisce on everything.
Shay, the other night you talked about your wife, Haley, and how much she's meant in sort of your journey and your path to this point. What does it mean to raise an MVP and score 38 in the conference finals and a pair of shoes in a colorway named after her?
Yeah, it's amazing. I'm glad I played well in her colorway for sure. She'd be mad at me if I played bad. But she deserves it. She's been my rock throughout this whole journey, from when I was a kid till now. One of those silent forces that doesn't get the recognition, and she deserves the world. I'll do everything I can to give it to her.
Shay, the run you guys put on there in the third quarter feels like Minnesota sort of is caving is probably the wrong word, but just sort of sensing the momentum that you guys have. Are you feeling that as they sort of react to what you guys are doing at all?
Yeah, you can feel it. You feel like what happens is like you feel us like string together stops. That's what's like encouraging, and I think that's what's made us really good. Like, just our team really enjoys like playing defense and finds it very fun. And when we score, stop, like the stops is what gets us going. We can play faster, we play confident, and we're out there running and just hooping. But yeah, us enjoying getting stops is definitely the key to that.
Thank you, Shay.
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, as of yesterday, officially your 2024-25 Kia NBA Most Valuable Player, underscoring that accomplishment with an MVP caliber performance today, because right before tip-off, he was officially handed the Michael Jordan MVP trophy, given to him by the commissioner, Adam Silver, and then Shai proceeded to drop 38 points in Game 2 of the Western Conference Finals. But what we saw from SGA in his MVP performance was not pressing. It was not outside of his typical character. It was the same Shai that we have seen all season long.
I loved how he even, was honest about it, that he was like, yeah, I mean, just got named MVP, so it kind of crossed my mind to maybe come out and force a few up. I actually noticed it after Shai got handed the Michael Jordan trophy from Adam Silver and had the amazing moment here in front of the home crowd. His first thing that he did was he pointed to all of his teammates like, all right, everybody in line, we got to do the anthem. It's game time now.
Time to lock
in. You can just tell that it was like, I'm not going to let this amazing moment, as great as it was for everybody, and I'm sure for him, just a surreal life achievement, get in the way of what was about to happen, which was ball's about to go up, and I got to play great, and which is what he did. He certainly looked like the MVP tonight.
Well, he spoke about it in that press room, the balance between the joy and the levity that this team is so well known for, the connectedness, the fun that they have, but also the serious business-like approach that they have on the court. And I don't think I've seen a team balance that better than the Oklahoma City Thunder, and Shea is a perfect example of that.
Yeah, great point. I mean, we see it so often with post-game and how this team, the camaraderie they have and the connective tissue. And Shea is, I think a lot of people don't appreciate the fact that this guy's the MVP of the league. He's one of the best players in the entire world, true superstar in every way. This isn't like his breakthrough season, by the way. The guy was runner-up for MVP last year. He's been All-NBA 2 times. He's been on the All-Star team a couple times. But the thing about him that's special is that and we're around him all the time, he's just a teammate. I mean, he's just a Thunder player at the end of the day. And he doesn't distance himself or separate. He does little things like, I remember just one of the games that he sat out this season. He was out there at halftime in his street clothes rebounding for his teammates.
Yeah.
But just little stuff like that. The guy is just part of the group, and I think that really kind of adds to the connective tissue of the entire team.
I heard Coach Daigneault say one time, and I think it has stuck with me because I think it illustrates Shea so perfectly. He's a guy that wants to be one of the greats, but also wants to be one of the guys. Yeah. And he's done such a good job of that, being such a great connector for his teammates, a great leader by example for this group. But then on the court, he is just so incredibly consistent, and he's a guy that has never had to force it. He just continues to get better year over year to the point where now he's MVP of the league.
Yeah, and one of the things that we talk about with Shea too is the scoring, the craftsmanship on the floor is so incredible. But we talked a lot about the Thunder defense. Don't underestimate what a dynamic defender he is as well. He had an amazing block at the rim that sparked a fast break the other way. So the guy does it on all facets of the game. We saw it in a lot of ways tonight too. Just his game management, his floor game was on display. The 8 assists doesn't even really tell the story of how good he was at picking the right spots to get off the ball, to get back on it, to attack, to hit a big jumper when his teammates need it. He's just got great emotional awareness both on and off the floor.
Yeah, the defensive side of the floor too. It would be easy for an MVP caliber player to just not really compete on that end of the floor. And for Shea, he has led the NBA in steals last season, top 5 in steals this season. And that side of the floor for Shea, it's not even, it's his ability to just kind of lurk, anticipate where the pass is going to be, pick him off, and then also don't try to throw the ball into the post against Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He has gotten so good at taking those away.
One of the best moments of the game, I thought, was I think that Shea jumped a post-entry pass, came over to help on Julius Randle, picked it off, and it was great. And then the Thunder went down and scored, and I watched, and Alex Caruso was like so jacked up about that play. Like, that's the MVP right there, stepping up and making the kind of play that I make. And that sort of thing, again, is energizing for the entire group.
Yeah, and you see everybody that is just so connected on this group, headlined, of course, by Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, but you see the efficiency that he plays with, and I don't think this gets talked about enough because Shai, he'll have a 38-point performance like he did tonight on 19 field goal attempts. That leaves so many other shots on the floor for other guys like Cason Wallace, guys like Aaron Wiggins, guys like Isaiah Joe to get a rhythm, get good looks, and get quality opportunities and shots on the floor.
Yeah, he never takes the air out of the ball. And again, what we've seen so much is all these players that have dynamically developed around him. And I think, again, that has to do with a lot of just the off-the-court stuff, I think the connective tissue of the team. But to your point, Paris, he's somebody that he's a high-usage player, but he is not the central figure of the Thunder offense necessarily. I mean, we've seen Isaiah Joe, Aaron Wiggins, like you said, J-Dub has become an all-star. Chet Holmgren's gotten better this year. Isaiah Hartenstein is having his best season as a pro now, playing alongside SGA. So all these players can excel, and SGA is able to kind of leverage the attention he gets so often from defenses to help amplify his teammates.
Such a great leader, both on and off the court. A well-deserved honor. Shai, the most valuable player of this league, and certainly played like it here tonight in Game 2. All right, stick with us here on Thunder Playoff Postgame. When we come back, we'll get you all squared away. Everything you need to know as the Thunder head to Minnesota for Game 3.
My doctor is my hero.
My doctor makes me happy, makes me feel safe.
It helps me get strong.
We're just so grateful that we don't have to travel out of state.
Oklahoma Children's Hospital cares for my child like their own.
gives us hope, and has our trust.
Leadership starts at home. That's why Ford is from America, for America. And with a lineup of our most popular Ford trucks and SUVs, we're for Oklahoma too. Including F-150, Bronco, and Expedition. That's our leadership lineup. Right now, get employee pricing. You pay what we pay. Ford, from America, for America. At your best in Oklahoma Ford dealers. Proud truck partner of the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Hey, have you heard what's happening at Mathis Home? The Monumental Savings Event is happening right now. Save big on our newest arrivals. We have hundreds of sofas with styles you love at unbeatable prices. Like this one. At just $5.99, you can enjoy this contemporary sofa by Ashley, complete with 5 accent pillows. Just one of over 100 great sofas in stock and ready for you to enjoy tonight with fast and free delivery. So don't miss out on the Monumental Savings Event happening at your furniture superstore, Mathis Home.
Welcome back inside of Paycom Center here in downtown Oklahoma City. This was the backdrop for Game 2 between the Thunder and the Timberwolves. Oklahoma City walking away with this win, 118-103, now improves to 2-0 in this Western Conference Finals. From here on out, the Thunder are going to head out to Minnesota for Games 3 and 4. Here is your schedule. Game 3 is going to be on Saturday. That's at 7:30 p.m. That's going to be on ABC. And then Game 4 is going to be on Monday. That is also at 7:30, going to be on ESPN. Game 5, of course, going to be back in Oklahoma City if necessary, but that'll be on Wednesday at 7:30. So a new challenge for Oklahoma City, a new setting. You go from the comfortable confines of Paycom Center, this raucous, loud environment here inside of this building, and you have to take all of this and pack it with you in your suitcase and take it out to Minnesota, where there's no doubt going to be a lot of energy in that building as well. What can the Thunder expect or anticipate going into that arena?
Well, I think in a lot of ways you can kind of lean on the experience of the first round series against the Memphis Grizzlies, where the Thunder handled their business pretty emphatically in that series against the Grizzlies. And, I think a lot of people thought, oh, Memphis is overwhelmed in this, and kind of wrote them off. And what did Memphis do? They built, I think it was a 29-point lead in that first half, and looked incredible and looked so comfortable on their home court. They played with a lot more pace. They played with a lot more tempo. They were a lot more confident. Again, the runs that teams can go on their home floor can swell. Instead of being like a 6-0 run, suddenly they become 14-2. So, I think that you could kind of lean on that experience. And, of course, everybody understands how important this game will be for the Timberwolves. The Thunder are going to be at the forefront of that. But, we kind of talk about hard games to win. When you're up 2-0 and you're going on the road, everybody understands 3-0 is on the other side of that. And 3-0 is hard to overcome. So Minnesota is going to really pull out all the stops, and their fans are going to be absolutely juiced for this one.
Yeah, one thing we heard from Coach Daigneault is the Thunder's ability to just learn and understand more how to break down that Minnesota defense with their attacks offensively. We saw some great execution in the second half of this game, and you can anticipate Minnesota maybe coming out with a few more tricks up their sleeve defensively to try to slow down Oklahoma City. We saw it in the fourth quarter, that zone defense pressing up a lot closer to the half-court line, and this is something that we saw throughout the regular season, Royce. The Minnesota Timberwolves really rolling out that blitzing, kind of trapping 2-3 zone just to slow Oklahoma City down.
Yeah, and again, they even had a new look tonight. Was the first zone they played was a 1-2-2,
right?
Which you don't see a whole lot in the NBA. So again, they're trying different things to get a feel for it, and of course, their goal coming into these first two games, as every road team looks at it, is to try to get a split, and they did not do it. But they do have a lot of good information now that they're going to take with them back for Game 3. Of course, the Thunder do as well, having seen some of the things that Minnesota's doing. A lot of the reason Minnesota is scheming these things and trying to make these adjustments is because the Thunder are so difficult to guard, and also the Thunder put so much pressure on you in so many different areas of the floor. So, Minnesota, I think Chris Finch would love to just be like, look, we'll just go straight up man-to-man, put our best defenders on your best offensive players, and just play basketball that way. But the Thunder don't really allow for that because of the way that they space and move the ball so well.
Yeah, the Thunder, just such a tough team team to guard. And this is what we heard from Coach Daigneault. And when teams roll out stuff like this, it's a compliment to Oklahoma City and their offense and how they're able to attack. So for Oklahoma City, continuing to learn and understand more their opponent going to be key in Game 3 out there in Minnesota. Well, the next stop for Oklahoma City, as we mentioned, out in Minneapolis, which means that wraps us up here inside of Paycom Center and in downtown Oklahoma City. Thanks so much for staying up late with us here on Thunder Playoff Postgame. What a game. Once again, our final score, 118-103, with the series now 2-0 in favor of Oklahoma City. For Royce Young, I'm Paris Lawson. A reminder to join us for a complete breakdown and reaction following Game 3 on Saturday from Minnesota. Until then, good night from Paycom Center in downtown Oklahoma City.